Hi everyone, it's George Belleville here. I'm a realtor in Maryland, and I'm creating this video because I want to explain what happens when we receive an offer on a property that we have listed. So if you're a seller, this is for you, or if you're just someone who's curious, this is how we do it. So the first thing is, as the house is going on the market, we will have created a folder for all of your documents, and in that document there is a spreadsheet that we use to compare offers as they come in. Sometimes we have one offer, sometimes we have a lot more than that, and having them in a spreadsheet allows us to lay them out so it's much easier for you to see. So you will have received that before we even receive an offer. That happens as the house is going on the market. So as the offers come in, the first thing we do is we do a preliminary review just to make sure all the forms are there. Sometimes they don't scan, or for whatever reason the agent didn't send them. So, people are human, they make mistakes. So first we do is check the preliminary check to make sure that all the forms are there. The secondary review is to make sure that the forms are all filled out properly. And because, again, people make mistakes, people leave things out, and some of those can be critical. And then the final thing is to review for the actual terms of the contract. Obviously, that's the most important thing, but we have to make sure the preceding things are done just to make sure we have a complete contract. So the final thing we do is the final review of the actual terms, the closing date, the price, any inspections, things like that. So that all gets entered into that spreadsheet, and that way, if we have more than one offer, you can each of the terms is laid out next to each other. Because the other thing that happens sometimes is agents, there's no rule about what order the forms have to be in. So if we just give you a 54-page contract without the spreadsheet, they're not all in the same order, so it's really hard to compare them to each other and keep that all in your mind. It's really a lot. So we keep them in the columns so you can look, the closing date, the price, the inspections, whatever, they're laid out right next to each other. It makes it much easier for you to review. The other thing is, when we get them, we take the lender information. I call the lender and I talk to them about where the buyer is in the process. Are they pre-qualified? Are they pre-approved? Have they been up to the commitment level or close to it with the lender? A lot of them do things a different way, but obviously the farther along they are, the better. And whatever notes I get from them, I actually add in one of the cells in that spreadsheet. So as you're looking at it, you can see I don't type everything, but I give a summary of what the loan officer said when I called to talk to them. And the other thing this does is sometimes we get escalation clauses. And some people don't, actually, some agents don't understand this. Escalation clauses when someone says, we'll beat your offer by $5,000 up to, but not to exceed a certain amount. And escalation clauses can escalate each other. So you can have them going up and up and up against each other. Sometimes you have 3 or 4. So having them side by side in a spreadsheet makes that process much easier too. So you make sure what's the maximum amount you can invoke in that escalation clause based on what's in the contract. It's very important. And I actually have talked to agents who did that wrong and lost their clients some money because they didn't escalate high enough. And then the other thing we do is, I don't always do this, but if we have, say, 3 or more contracts come in, sometimes I'll very lightly shade the one that I consider to be the best overall offer. And the reason I do that is not to try to get you to take a certain offer. It's your choice. We'll talk about them all, but ultimately it's the seller's choice. But when you have multiple offers, if you have one as a reference, it's easier to look at that one and then compare the second one to that one, and then the third one back to that one. So it gives you kind of a reference point to stay on, to compare the other offers to it, to see if any of them beat that offer. And again, it's not for me to control what you do, but I found that to be a way to keep people much more grounded in the process and not get overwhelmed. Because I can say, a couple years ago I had offers with 20, 25, or houses with 20 or 25 offers. It's virtually impossible to keep that in your head and do it without some kind of filtering down to the ones that we think are best. So that's what will happen. Obviously, once that does happen, we have conversations, we go over them, we review them and talk about them, and ultimately, as I said, it's the seller's choice. But I wanted to explain that so you know what's coming, what to look at, and I would advise, even before we get offers, to go into that spreadsheet and just look at the columns and see what the categories are so that when you get an offer, you understand how it's going to be laid out. So hopefully that makes sense. And obviously, if you have any questions, you have my contact info. It should be below, and have a great day.